Koi fish have a very long and colorful, literally, history. The vibrant varieties seen in many ponds today have descended from the common solid black carp. Now, not only are they culturally symbolic, but they are a hobby for millions of people around the world. Let's take a step back in time and find out how these ornamental fish became so significant. Black carp, or mogoi, were originally brought into Japan from China when the Chinese invaded Japan around 200 BC. The Japanese are known for being the first in koi history to breed fish that had naturally occurring mutations, which as a result introduced color to the species. There are so many interesting things to learn about koi fish that you should learn something new with these 5 koi fishes' history. Knowledge. 1. Koi fish were originally brought to Japan as a food source. Koi natural habitats in the Black, Caspian, and Aral Seas in Asia and China is the true beginning of koi fish. According to Chinese history, Confucius' son was given a mutated carp by King Shōwa of Ro, and from then on the fish became the subject of many Chinese artwork. When the Chinese invaded Japan, these carp were bred as a food source due to their resilient nature. This was the beginning of the Japanese koi fish. Koi, in Japanese means carp, were first bred in Japan in the 1820s, initially in the town of Ojai, Japanese prefecture of Niigata. While they were still being bred for food, these brown fish occasionally produce red and blue mutations. Through selective breeding, the red and white variety, recognizable as the modern ornamental koi, was eventually perfected in 1870. The outside world was unaware of the development color variations in Japanese koi until 1914, when the Niigata koi were exhibited at an annual exposition in Tokyo. From that time, interest in koi spread throughout Japan. More than 100 color varieties have been bred from this single species of fish, including a scaleless variety in Germany now known as the mirror or Duitsugoi German carp. 2. Koi fish are descendants of the hardy common carp, which is so adaptable and it can be found all around the world. The common carp is a hardy fish, and koi retain that durability from it. Koi are cold water fish, but benefit from being kept in the 15 to 25 degrees Celsius, 59 to 77 degree Fahrenheit range, and do not react well to long and cold winter temperatures. Their immune systems are very weak below 10 degrees Celsius. Koi ponds usually have a meter or more of depth in areas of the world that become warm during the summer, whereas in areas that have harsher winters, ponds generally have a minimum of 1.5 meters, 5 feet. 3. Koi fish were developed by Japanese farmers. Koi in the nature have a brown color, but through selective breeding by the Japanese, numerous colors and patterns were developed. In the 17th century, Chinese rice farmers began keeping carp in their rice paddies as a food fish. This practice found its way to Japan. The Japanese rice farmers began to notice slight color variations in a few of the carp, and they saw great potential to bring out their vibrant colors. Therefore, the farmers bred these carp into what eventually became what we know today as nishikigoi. 4. Koi fish were brought to the world's attention after one was given to the Japanese emperor as a gift in 1914 to grace the imperial palace's moat. The popularity of the Japanese koi fish quickly grew, though other countries had yet to truly notice these lovely fish, and soon it was the most desired fish in the country. Koi fish became so popular in Japan that it was considered a perfect gift for Emperor Hirohito's imperial palace moat in 1914. This presentation caught the eyes of every county in the world, and soon after the Japanese koi fish had caught the hearts of millions. 5. Koi fish and goldfish are distant cousins as they both descend from carp, but goldfish came about long before koi fish did. Both koi fish and goldfish are descendants of carp, so they're actually distant relatives. The goldfish is far older than koi fish. Goldfish were developed in China over 1,000 years ago, while koi fish have only graced our ponds since the 1820s. Koi and goldfish show their similarities and differences in their color, body shape, and lifespan. Other information about koi history. Rice farmers in Japan used to keep koi fish as a food source when they were originally introduced to the country, and could be found in the country's rice paddies. When the farmers began to notice the mutations that were happening due to crossbreeding, they began to selectively breed the koi themselves for the carp's appealing colorful scales. This is thought to have begun in the early 1800s and led to the earliest varieties, such as the Narumi Asaji. The earliest breed produced by chance was Magoi with red bellies. From this red-bellied Magoi came across from a Magoi and Higoi. We know them as Binigoi. This eventually led to producing Hai and Kibekos with their black markings. The pale blue-based Asaji came to produce the white-based Koi. White-sided Asaji, or Taki Asaji, were used to eventually produce the first Kōhaku, and then Goshiki, with Gromo after that. Taki Asaji Koi played a role in producing white carp with red spots. These were the first colored carp to be called Kōhaku, which are the most popular Koi kept today. Kōhaku was cross-bred with Goshiki or Asaji to produce the first Sank and Shiro Bekos. Ojita City in Niigata was now full of new varieties of Koi, and as people traveling through the city began to see these beautiful, vibrantly colored fish for the first time, Koi keeping as a hobby started to become popular around the world. Niigata, Japan was the forefront for Koi development. The farmers in this area were the only ones to actively breed these mutated Koi, creating the Koi carp varieties we have come to now know. These rice farmers recognized that they could continue to breed all the new forms of Magoi to produce further color variations, creating even more demand and profit. Outside of Niigata, the world was not aware of these newly developed colored Koi variations until around 1914. It was then that Koi from Niigata were exhibited at an exposition in Tokyo. From then on, interest in Koi spread throughout all of Japan. Despite their growing popularity, Koi keeping had to be put on hold temporarily due to World War II. Luckily, the Japanese Koi farmers passed down their knowledge to new generations who were actually able to save the Koi during and after the time of the war. This hard time led to the vast majority of Koi carp being lost due to lack of food. Luckily, some were kept safe in temple ponds, and after the war, Koi breeding continued. With the many varieties of Koi now available, it can be difficult to understand how each one came to be. We have provided a useful lineage chart below that can help you to better understand how your favorite Koi fish developed its unique color and pattern. It is important to note that given that there are now hundreds of different Koi varieties, not all are listed. Asaji, one of the oldest breeds of Koi, started being bred 160 years ago by parent Asaji Magois. Kibeko, bred around the mid-late 1800s by a Magoi and Higoi variety. Kōhaku, bred by a white female with a red head and a white male with a cherry blossom pattern. Sank, established around 1917 after breeding a Kōhaku and a Shiro Beko. Shushui, bred around 1910 by an Asaji and a Deutsche mirror carp. Ki-Utsuri, started to be bred around 1921 by a Kibeko and an Asaji Magoi. Shiro-Utsuri, first bred around 1925 between a Magoi and another variety that is unknown. Shōwa, in 1926, the Shōwa was bred by a Hai-Utsuri and a Kōhaku. Yamabuki Ogun was first bred in 1957 between a light-colored Ogun and a Kijiwai. Dutsu Kyujaku were first bred in the 1960s between a Harawake and a Shujui. Purachina, bred in 1963 between a Kigoi and an Ogun. Beni Kuminari, a rare form of Kuminari, this variety was first bred in 1980 between a Kuminryu and a Doitsu Kōhaku. Kikakiryu, one of the newer varieties of Koi carp, they were originally bred in the early 1990s between a Kuminryu and a Kikusui.